Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, The Powerful Man Matthews. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Doing very well indeed. Just been for a nice hike. I say hike, more like a stroll around this gorgeous Chevin, and on the way back, you can see the sun setting. I love the UK at this time of year.
What's a Chevin?
So it's called Chevin. It's basically like a forest on a hillside, or a cliffside. So when you look out, you can see all across some great views across the Yorkshire Dales, and it's gorgeous. And obviously, the sun sets here at this time of year about 4 p.m. When it's been one of those days where it's just crisp, blue skies, 1 degree Celsius, which is like 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Gorgeous. So yeah, great afternoon.
Awesome. New word for me. Never heard of a Chevin.
Yeah, Chevin.
There you go. Finally, you're teaching me something. I like that.
All about who you hang about with, right, Doug?
Apparently so.
Are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with?
That's why I hang out with you, buddy. So, Tim, today I want to talk about a topic that plagues a lot of us married men, and certainly I've been through it. It's being too busy to date your wife. And something, we talk about, time and time again, but also most of the men listening to this have heard this before, right? You got to date your wife. Yet, and the day-to-day comes around and me having kids, it's just so stinking hard at times, right? You're working your tail off, and then you're coming in, and you get home, and next thing you know, you got to get the kids food. The kids want to hang out with you. You only have so much time to actually spend with your kids, and they're growing up so quickly that you want to spend there and be present the best that you can, but you're also exhausted from the day. And then you want to throw on the fact that you're supposed to be out dating, right? When your wife has either been home or at work as well, and you're both exhausted, you got to find childcare, right? You got to find all of these logistics that go on. Who's going to take care of the kids? Who can you trust? It's not like you just pick up the phone book and call somebody to take care of your kids. That's not how it works, right? You got to find somebody you trust and is willing to do it for something that you can afford. And then you're expected to really turn it on, right? Turn it on, so to speak, and be the man and date them. So this is an epidemic that a lot of men listening to this have faced, but it's also caused a lot of issues.
Yeah, and I can understand, why so many men that come to us anyway feel so torn by this, because on one side they can hear these messages in social media from particular people, and it's like, be the man, and there's this new definition of what it means to be a provider these days, right? That's emerging. Yes. It's not good enough anymore to just go out there and make money. Women these days, and quite rightly so, demand much more of us and expect much more because they don't need us in that role, right? Because they now usually can go out there and do it for themselves. So there's even more pressure on men to be able to, on married businessmen in particular, to be able to meet these demands. I understand the confusion, the stress, the overwhelm, and I can get it when some guys just, I don't know if you were there, but I've done this. You just kind of think, you know what? Fuck this. You just give up. It's so easy to just give up and throw your hands up and just fall for the belief that, well, do you know what? We're married. We've both got jobs. We're busy. It's okay. We'll get around to dating again sometime in the future. But the thing is, what a lot of the wives of the men that we work with have told us, told the guys that have told us, is how, without the dating in the marriage, there's no connection that gets continued to be nurtured. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? You go to the gym, you'll follow a workout plan because you want to get into a particular, body fat or shape or whatever it is. And when you get there, what do? Do you stop working out? If you stop working out, you lose the gains, right? You eventually fall back to where you were. And it's the same in relationship, whether the kids are there or not, whether you've got a business or not. If you don't continue to invest in that connection with your wife, then it's going to fizzle out. It's inevitable, right?
Yeah. It happens to a lot of us guys. You get married, right? That's a big thing. And you expect things to just change. Like, okay, we're married. Everything's good, And it's not really that cliche of, oh, I got her, or, now I don't have to do anything. But I think over time, you just get busier. And then you throw kids into the mix, you got kids after school programs, sporting events, whatever's going on. And it just becomes easier to throw Netflix on and sit on the couch and have a glass of wine and just chill and just relax. Rather than, really you've been out of the game for so long, with dating and doing things like that. The things that you used to do with, your partner, right? But when you guys were when you're trying to get her and catch her, you point out all the stops, and that
Mm,
romance has most likely died. And it's just become easier to sit in front of the TV or go on the computer, whatever screen you want to think of, TV screen, iPad, laptop, phone, whatever it is. It's just easier to do that. And then later you'll take her on a vacation, and that excuse that you hear all the time is kind of goes something along the lines like, well, I go home, I provide. And you mentioned this, right? The definition of a modern man is so ambiguous these days, right? You're supposed to provide. You're also supposed to be, the model guy, the great father, right? Probably a
ripped,
better father than your
rich.
father was. And there's so many other aspects to it. And then planning a date night. Wow, like that's ridiculous. Like how do you expect me to do it? My guess is that a lot of the guys listening to this know they should be dating their wife. They want to, right? It's fallen by the wayside. And what happens is 1 week turns into 2, 2 weeks turns into 4, 4 weeks turns into 6 months, 6 months turns into a year. And what I've seen happen, and I've been guilty of this too, Tim, myself, is what happens is over time you start to go like this with your partner. You're drifting
Mm,
slowly and slowly apart, over and over again until you're both kind of just become roommates who
mhm.
love each other and roommates who take care of kids. And you've emotionally kind of left the relationship and you've just basically, drifted away and you seek out your intimacy other places.
So true. And the key thing here is, if we want to try and reassure ourselves that, it's not that bad, we're busy, we've got kids, it doesn't matter. The relationship, and women in particular, crave connection. As guys, we can sometimes get it through sex, right? A quickie here and there, and guys think everything's all good. It's all good. We're having sex. Everything in the relationship is great. But for women, it requires a much deeper level of connection. And I was doing some research on this a little while ago, and there was a stat that I came across, Doug, and it blew my mind. And that 70% of divorces are initiated by women.
Mm.
But here's the thing. When they actually got asked about what was going on in the relationship, the women said that the man left the relationship long before she did.
Mm.
And although he was there physically, he had pulled away emotionally. And that left her isolated. And this in my opinion, it feeds directly into this point of making sure that you're making time for the date nights, right? Just that dedicated space of time to connect with your wife and make sure, you're not talking about anything to do with business or the kids or, you're actually there and playing in each other's worlds of what's going on and what you want to grow in and, what you want to do together and rekindling that spark that was once there.
Yeah, it's totally true. And I can tell you where I've been guilty. And my wife will probably watch or listen to this as well. And a lot of our guys fall through it, right? You're making good money. You're doing really well in business. And so you're providing everything you want to. And when you feel that disconnection, you go out and buy an expensive gift. Not
Mm,
one, not two, but you start giving gifts. And because you feel a little guilty is the truth about it. And you're feeling a little disconnected. So you try to replace it with some expensive items, and that gives a little glimmer, like giving a kid a toy, a little glimmer of hope and excitement, except for that diminishes right away. It's not the true connection and intimacy that we talk about. And the truth is, if you're not dating her, guys, somebody else is going to start dating her. Somebody else is. And this is going to happen before she leaves you, most likely.
mhm.
The ball is going to get rolling. She's going to start looking elsewhere to fulfill her needs, just as you will, right? Just as a man will look elsewhere, she will too. And this divide, as we talked about, starts growing deeper and deeper. It's like a wedge that gets placed between you. And as I said, you walk around, next thing you know, you're walking in the kitchen, almost bumping into each other, going, "Hey, what are you doing?" It's the littlest things, the trash, the arguments start building up, and we start stacking evidence on how our life and our wife really isn't working out for us. And we start looking for alternatives pretty quickly.
Mm. Reminds me of one of the guys that came into the program, and he joined because, well, one of the reasons why he joined is his wife had just had an affair.
Mm.
And he thought that he was doing all the right things. They didn't have kids. They've been married for a few years, and he'd been building his business to provide this lifestyle for him and his wife so they could travel and experience great things. And so he invested so much of his energy into it. By the time he got home on an evening, there was just nothing left to give either himself, never mind somebody else, his wife. And little by little, date night slipped by the wayside. And, oh, sorry, babe, we'll do something next week. I've had a really tough week this week. And she was understanding. Yes, it's okay. But over time, this became a standard. It became a norm, and it eroded the relationship. And just like a lot of other women talk about, he then left the relationship even though he was there. He was there, but he wasn't there. He checked out. That connection wasn't there. And these guys actually tried marriage counseling, and it drove them further apart. And he joined the program a few days after they'd been to marriage counseling, and just talking about the problems put them in this position where they're almost competing in front of the therapist about who could make the other one sound worse.
Been there, man.
and they left that set. The therapist is like, okay, I was up. Shepherds them out into the world to go, in the corridor facing one another. That night, she went and slept in a hotel because, if the marriage counseling can't save us, nothing can.
Yep.
But the truth is, it's not about talking. You don't need to talk in order to reignite your relationship. It's about the connection. So, what this guy did in the end, because his wife then went and had an affair. That was part of the build up to this, because she still had needs, right?
Yeah.
So she still had needs, wanted them to be met. And it's key. We often get taught that, there's a real convoluted way in order to reconnect with your wife. And it really can be very simple. Just focus on creating a connection and prioritize the date nights, and things can shift quick.
It really does. And we talk about this a lot in the activation method when we look at, ways of prioritizing your life. So many of us have got our priorities backwards, right? Completely wrong. And we say we want one thing, family and relationships being number one, that almost every man listening to this or watching this is going to say, that's my number one. But, as I always say, Tim, show me your calendar. I'll show you your priorities. And date night should be on there. Now, it is difficult to do, but like most things are difficult. It's difficult to show up to work, a place, a lot, but you do it. And so date night needs to be put into the category, what I call the brush your teeth category, not the get a massage category. It's something that needs to be a priority that you really focus on versus something you do sometimes. And I can tell you guys from my personal experience with my wife, my wife's pregnant. We're expecting another child. We have a child already. But when I take her out, our whole home life is amazing. When I romance her, everything's better. The sex is better. The communication's better. I'm treated like a king of my castle in my house rather than just a roommate. It's a night and day feeling. And really, that's what we want as men. We want the woman that we love to look at us with admiration, look up to us, not only for our victories in business, but we want those, right? But the way that we're doing everything else in our life, especially the way that we're treating her and treating, that woman. She's really just, a child that's dreamed of getting married, a little girl who's grown up. And it's our job as the man to escort that little girl into this fantasy that she wants. And that starts with date night and romancing, and really going through things like the coil that we do on a daily basis to make sure you're on track, and really making sure that you're putting your priorities in place ahead of time, which is almost impossible to do for most men in their current state.
Yeah, for sure. It can be. And, this isn't for every guy anyway, right? What we're sharing right now, some guys, and that's fair enough, maybe thinking, no, Doug, you don't get it. I'm different. My business is different. My industry is moving faster.
Sure it is.
I've just got to, I've just got to work 50 hours a week right now. But when these things are in place, then I'll start dating her. But Doug, my situation is different, and
Oh, no. I'm going to stop right there for that guy saying that he's agreeing with you right now. Because guess what? When you're working 50, 60 hours a week and going through a divorce, good luck. Your business is going to collapse, right? You're going to focus on there. Your health is going to collapse. Everything's going to tumble around you, right? Unless you pick stuff up quickly, and make the turn and work on yourself. That's what I did, Tim. I doubled down on myself, which allowed me to have the energy and everything else I wanted to, the foresight to work on my family, to work on my relationship. What most men do is they start working on the other person, right? They look for that quick fix, that quick win, which is good. But you got to invest in yourself and your own growth, spiritually, mentally, physically, in areas of relationship and growth in business too. I mean, they go hand in hand, right? We all know that when we see a guy who's got a great, marriage, right? They do well in business. It just, it. You just know it intuitively. If you're an owner, you see it all the time. But conversely, if you know someone who's going through a hard relationship, their work suffers dramatically. And it bleeds into all areas. So to that guy that's saying, well, Doug, you don't understand me, you don't know me. Tim, how many hundreds of men have gone through the program already that we've seen? All unique stories, all business owners with, that have a partner, most have kids, but the formula works every single time without question.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to find out more about that, by the way, head over to thealphareset.com. I've actually not plugged that. Well, I'll say plugged it. That's the wrong word. Giving people the opportunity to actually go there, right? In this episode, yeah. So it reminds me so much of Mike in the Brotherhood. Had his highest month in sales last month, was it? I think. And the message he sent the other day, moving offices usually would be really stressful, but he's just taking it in his stride. Him and his wife, Rach, are on a completely new level of intimacy and connection and communication. And as a family, they're just taking time to do a lot more family weekends together. So it's no coincidence. And Mike isn't an anomaly, is he? We see it time and time again with guys who focus on getting the territories in order and living with a certain methodology, and the dominoes always fall into place. It happens every time. Every time.
And our coaches, I do it. I can speak from my own personal experience, right? This has worked for me in my marriage, period. End of story. And that's why I'm such an advocate. We're doing this on a Sunday, right? My wife's encouraging because we want to help other guys out there that are going through some crap, right? For one reason or another, time has passed you by and you've picked your head up and you're looking around and it's time for a friggin' change and you know it. Otherwise you wouldn't be here right now, right? This is the time to actually make that change. Sign of a man is a sign of taking decisive action. We all know that. Every movie, Tim, when you watch any movie where you have a hero, a true masculine hero, they're decisive and they take action when they see a problem. And so I'm hoping that the men listening to this, whether you're in that state where your wife, is having an affair or leaving you, or you just know you haven't stepped up and played 100%, a 10 out of 10 in your relationship, take Tim's advice, go over to thealphareset.com right now and check that out. We'd love to see you and show you what we've done for hundreds of men just like you to help them sustain not only their relationships, but all areas of their life and get out of the friggin' pain and misery. Live today. Tomorrow is just not guaranteed. I know it's cliche, Tim, but it's so friggin' true, man. It's so true.
Mm-hmm. Very true, especially when I think of guys that have come through as well that have completely ignored this, right? And then they come into us after they've been handed the divorce papers, trying to, repair it once it's beyond repair. Often it's beyond repair at that point.
Yep. We've seen men pull it back that have really worked on themselves. But yeah, we do see the men that don't go through and don't do the work, and all of them have regrets, and we hear from them so often. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So 3 takeaways to wrap this up.
3 takeaways. First off, you got to date your wife. You got to date her the way that you dated her before you got married, when you were actually really trying to get her. Now, I would even say as much, Tim, as to go back before you actually were dating long-term, right? The
Mm.
real stuff, when you're surprising her, you're sending her text messages, whatever you're doing. So that's step one. Step two is you got to work on yourself, right? You got to start working on yourself, better yourself. I always call it raise your stock price, right? Raise your investment price. I invest in the markets and I want stocks that are going up. So is your stock going up as a man and as a husband? Yes or no? Got to work on that. Third thing is get optics, right? You need a strategy and a plan. You're not going to do this on your own with the way that you're currently doing things. Otherwise, you would have done them already. That's just the truth. So go over, get involved in the activation method so we can lay out a plan for you and show you what other men have been done. And Tim, I'm going to give you a fourth one. And because you said it earlier when we started this, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Surround yourself with men living, breathing, and speaking the doctrine, the things that we talk about here at The Powerful Man, with that kind of lifestyle. Surround yourself with those people, and this becomes so much easier. It's just like if you were hanging out with 5 other men who are married and have kids that are extremely active and fit, you're going to be fit just by associating with those people. Hanging out with men or like-minded who want to better not only their business, but also their relationships. Relationships first, business serves relationships, then that is key. You will also fall in line with that.
And, just to sum up here, Doug, you have put the work in. You and Erin, we can't just say you.
Yeah, no, my wife has too, for sure.
Yeah, both of you guys, you've put the work in the past few years. The position you were in and where you've come from to where you are now. The first year of marriage for you guys was tough.
It was horrible, man. It was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had several times in marriage. I mean, we did the whole, we didn't plan on talking about this, but we did counseling. We read all the books, not just some of the books. We read all the friggin' books. We talked to people, talked to experts, and always came back to doing the work internally and associating yourself with people, right? With people like other couples, other fathers and men who are playing the game that I wanted to play. That's something that I told you when you and Amelia, right? We're talking about associate yourself with other people who are playing the game that you want to play, or at least trying to do so and elevating their life. All too often, men surround themselves with guys that they can relate to, in the sense that men that are going through the same experience that they are, because, misery loves company. And it's one thing to hang out with people who are going through the same experience. It's how do those men handle that experience? And that's why you want to play with men who are just playing slightly above the game that you're playing right now. So it's now time to make the change. And if I didn't make the change, Tim, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, right? I definitely would be, on maybe my second marriage, or just single, and probably wouldn't even have any kids to be spending the holidays with.
And it's easy, kind of keep dragging this on, don't we? I thought of another guy I spoke with. He went through 5 different marriages because he kept thinking the problem was the woman.
Sure.
But he kept arriving at the same point in the marriage that he couldn't get beyond. I think he spent each divorce cost him $200,000.
Yeah.
He spent $1 million on divorces until he then realized, in fact, I keep repeating the pattern. What if it's me? And then obviously he was able to break the chain.
And it is you. There's the secret, right?
Yeah.
But
So guys, thank you for joining us for today's show. So again, like Doug was saying, if you want to find out more about how we may be able to help you, who knows, head over to thealphareset.com. And until next time, Doug, anything you want to share before we sign off?
Guys, you're amazing. Have an amazing day. But remember, take action now. Don't wait. Life's short. You don't have a back pocket life. Today is the day. This is the moment. Take action.
Love it.